There is one mistake that everyone always makes when trying to achieve financial freedom. You cannot cut your way to financial freedom. Cutting expenses is absolutely important and is a factor in achieving financial freedom. However, it's secondary compared to one other pillar that typically gets overlooked or misunderstood, and that is growing your income. How do I know? I spent 12 plus years in corporate before I achieved FIRE. Now my goal is to provide the tools and tips that you need to achieve the same thing if that's what you want. There are a bunch of ways for you to increase your income, but really what gets overlooked is your main source of income, whatever that is, whether it's a 9-to-5, you're a W-2 employee, or you're a part-time employee, you're a freelancer, etc. Your efforts are actually better placed in focusing on where you mostly generate income right now, rather than trying to generate a whole new revenue stream. The only way you can get successful really with these side hustles, with affiliate marketing, etc., is if you already have built a presence or an audience. If you are starting from scratch, you are not going to see that much money. It is going to be very difficult for you to scale. And at that point, you might as well spend that time convincing your boss to give you a 10% raise for next year. There are 3 components that are really needed to eventually achieve financial freedom and achieve it relatively quickly. You need to increase your income, you need to manage your expenses and control your expenses, and you need to also invest at the same time. And the perfect way to showcase the importance of all 3 components working together is really through an example. Let's say 4 people start off on exactly the same boat. It is 2026. They all have the same gross income. They all have the same expenses. For simplicity's sake, their take-home income is around $48,000, which means their gross annual income is closer to around $62K. Their annual expenses are 80% of that, which is $35,600. So this is consistent with the 50-30-20 rule. If you don't know what that is and you're interested in learning more, please feel free to drop it in the comments and I'll create a separate video on that. They start off the same, but their paths are going to be drastically different in the next 12 years. In addition to starting out with the same income and the same expenses, everybody has a $0 net worth. So they are starting from scratch. The important thing to note here is that nobody has debt also. So we are not including debt in this scenario. So let's say person A, let's say Aaron. Aaron in 12 years is actually able to increase his income by around 260%. He's doing very well for himself. His expenses, however, also increase by the same amount. They increase by 260%. Aaron's a little bougie. Aaron likes luxury cars. Aaron likes luxury watches. He likes to indulge in very luxurious vacations. So he spends money. The good part is that over the years, the amount that he saved, he invests 50% of it. So if he consistently saves 20% of his income, he should then be able to invest 10% of it at an annual rate of return of 9%. He will have a net worth close to $465,000. Sounds pretty good, right? That's not bad for 12 years. Let's assume right now, 0 debt, everybody's 0 net worth. Let's take this exact same starting scenario, but with person B, and let's call her Brenda. So Brenda also has been able to increase her income by 260% in 12 years. She is doing well, but her expenses have actually only increased by 130%. So it's half the rate in which she's growing her income. Do you see that difference? When you grow your income by a certain amount and you're able to only grow your expenses by half that rate, you are able then to continue saving more and more, which means then you can invest more in the market and increase and compound your returns. Let's say she does the exact same thing. So her expenses only increase by half the rate of her income. She then takes that 50% of that difference and she invests it. Now, over 12 years, even though she earns the same income as Aaron, Brenda's net worth is actually $740K. Her net worth is 59% better compared to Aaron's. She cut her expenses in half the rate, right? So her expenses are 50% of her income growth rate. But her net worth is actually 59% higher than Aaron's. And that's because you have the power of compounding actually working with you during this time. Now, we are also assuming that Brenda still only invests 50% of the savings that she has. Eventually, once you reach your actual savings goal, you might actually want to just invest the rest. You don't have to necessarily keep building your emergency fund. So realistically, Brenda's net worth could actually be significantly more than $740K. And that is the power of being able to grow your income and manage your expenses at the same time. Nobody's saying that Brenda's not splurging. She's increasing her expenses by 130%. She probably found a bigger place to live. Maybe she doesn't have roommates anymore. She has her own apartment. She goes on an extra vacation every single year now because she can afford it and she has the PTO. So there's ways that you can still indulge and take care of yourself while still working towards achieving financial freedom. So this whole idea that you can't drink Starbucks anymore, or you're going to have to cut out that caramel frappuccino, that is not going to drive a significant amount of money for you to then turn that into financial freedom in the future. But let's keep going. So let's just say, let's not focus on income. Wow, 260%, that is a lot for somebody to achieve in 12 years. Let's say person C, we're going to call him Chad. Let's say Chad is able to only increase his income by 100% over 12 years. So same time frame as Aaron and Brenda, but he only increases his income by 100%. Chad also can actually maintain his expenses pretty well. So let's say his expenses only grow at the rate of inflation. We look at the last 12 years as a benchmark. The inflation rate in total is roughly around 35-36%. So let's assume that's how much his expenses grow by. So similar to Brenda, Chad is able to increase his income at a higher rate than his expenses are growing, which is great. But he's not achieving a high enough income like Brenda or like Aaron. What happens in his situation? What is his net worth after 12 years? We're assuming that Chad also invests 50% of his savings in the stock market. In this case, in 12 years, he will actually have a higher net worth than Aaron. Chad's net worth after 12 years will be $535,000. Think about that. Chad doesn't even earn as much as Aaron. He is not even close, but he's able to generate a net worth that is better than Aaron's. And it's because he's able to save at a much better rate. Just because somebody earns more than you does not mean that their net worth is greater than yours. It all depends on how they're spending their money. It all depends whether they're investing their money. So even though they look rich, they actually may not actually be rich. Okay, stay with me here. We only have one more person left, and that is person D. We are going to call her Deborah. So in 12 years, her income increases with the rate of inflation, her expenses increase at the rate of inflation. Unfortunately, Deborah is actually in the worst position compared to the rest of her friends. Deborah's net worth is only $270,000. She has the least net worth out of everyone. So even though she is maintaining her expenses relatively well, similar to Chad, she's not able to increase that income at a higher rate, which then significantly limits the amount she can save and invest. So this goes back to my original point. You cannot cut your way to financial freedom. You can see that the most optimal situation really sits with Brenda. She increases her income quite significantly. She is able to manage her expenses at a relatively good rate, and she's investing significantly enough for compounding to take an effect. So this is why you cannot cut your way to financial freedom. Let me know if you found this helpful. Hit the subscribe button if you're interested in becoming more financially literate.